Good Monday evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here with your live weather impact tonight. Boy, we've got to talk about a heat wave. We know the drought's been an ongoing issue, and that's going to continue to be a problem, especially with the heat heading our way. But the story this week, the weather impact, is going to be high heat combined with the lack of rain. We'll start with today. Today, it was 81 was the high temperature today. That's way above our average of 73, 74, so about 6-7 degrees above average. And this is going to be the coolest day we're going to see maybe until Sunday. That should tell you just how hot it's going to be this week. Now, we do have rain to our northwest. Unfortunately, none of it heading our way. It's kind of easy to see what's happening. When you look at the weather maps, they can tell you quite a bit. You kind of see the ridge of high pressure right here and the flow around it. We see these storms off to the northwest. We'll talk a little bit about some of the storms in the middle of the country coming up with Tim. But that's the ring of fire. That's kind of the storms that go around these ridges of high pressure. Look at all of this heat. We've got mid and upper 80s to near 90 in the middle of the country. That heat is going to be heading our way. Right now, it's pretty warm. 70s, not bad though. It's very dry air out there. Dew points are generally in the 50s and 40s. So at least it's a dry heat. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It makes it feel good. It's bad news because we're not going to see any pop-up showers or thunderstorms. That's actually going to rob us of those chances, even with the high heat heading our way. There's your almanac today, 81 and 59. You can see the averages are 73 and 48. The record today is 90. We're going to be close to that tomorrow in the next couple of days. The record high tomorrow is 89. We will be very close to that coming up tomorrow afternoon. Here's a look at that forecast. Upper 80s tomorrow after we start near 60 in the morning. So pretty toasty afternoon. And I do think we'll be close to the record tomorrow, but I am actually going to forecast a record for Wednesday, Thursday. Friday looks to be safe because the record is 94. If we get close to that's going to really say something, because by Saturday we'll be in the low 90s again, 93. That will tie the record. So we could see several records fall over the next couple of days. Just to give you perspective how way above average this is. I mean, 15 to 20 degrees above average between now and Saturday. Sunday, a cool down is still 3 degrees above average. And Monday, 1 degree below average is exactly pretty much where we should be, and it's 74. So 90s are not that common in April. In fact, the earliest 90 we've ever hit in Charlotte was back on March 17th, 1945. Our average first 90 is usually the end of May, around May 20th, like right before or very close to Memorial Day. That's kind of the unofficial beginning of summer. And back in the summer of 2003, I remember that we did not get our first 90 until after the 4th of July. We had a ton of rain that summer, and that we were coming out of a big drought, by the way, that year as well, a multi-year drought. And all the rain kept us cool. We didn't hit 90 very often. Speaking of 90s, here's the top 10 earliest 90-degree days in Charlotte's record books. We haven't hit 90 in the month of April since 2010. Okay, so that's 16 years ago. You could see that April 6th, that's number 6 on the list. We actually probably will be in the top 10 here, because if we don't hit 90 tomorrow, we certainly would be on Wednesday, and that's the 15th, so that's going to put us at number 8 or 9. So this is kind of unprecedented. We don't really hit 90 this early, and especially for so many days in a row, and it's all because of this ridge over the southeast. It's basically a summer pattern in April. The kind of temperatures we're going to see now are more reminiscent of like early to mid-July, not so much early to mid-April, really mid-April now. But we will see cooler weather next week, as I mentioned, closer to average. We're just not going to see any rain with that. Even with the front heading our way, it's going to be another one of those mostly dry cold fronts. You see all the showers and storms to our northwest. It's kind of that ring of fire thing we talk about. And just to show you, there's all kinds of severe weather going on in the middle of the country and the northwest of us. That's all around that ridge. And that just does not bring us much rain. In fact, the 7-day rainfall forecast, this is really pathetic looking. In fact, I don't think the next 10 days will have significant rainfall. That ridge of high pressure is going to be camped out over the southeast, and so all the storms stay to our northwest or off to the east, and we end up with a little to no rain over the next 7 days. Now, the pollen forecast. Here's a little bit of good news. The pollen's still high, but the pine pollen, the yellow dust that everyone wants to clean off their porch and car, we've actually gone past that surge a little bit. So I don't want to say pollen's done, but we're over the worst of it. It just means we're going to have some other pollens you're not going to see as much, but you might suffer from allergies from oak and mulberry. So if you're looking to clean off your porch, I do mine 3 times. It's just the only way you could use your porch in the spring. I do it once early in March. I did one just a week ago. I'll do another one in May, the final cleaning, to make sure all the pollen stays off everything, and I can enjoy the outdoors, right? Tomorrow, hot day. Temperatures pushing the upper 80s, near 90 degrees. Certainly going to be a toasty stretch of weather when you look at your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Hornets home playoff game tomorrow. That's going to be great. Temperatures upper 80s during the day, low 90s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Here comes that front on Sunday. Just a small chance of rain there, 20%. So when you look at this, it's one thing to see all this warm air. Look at the lack of rainfall. This is my 10-day forecast. I have rain one day on that 10-day, and it's only a 20% chance. That is not good, folks. The drought is going to get a lot worse, because one thing that makes drought worse is heat, because it increases evaporation rates. More people use more water when it gets hot. You're going to be watering more. People are going to be filling pools. So this is going to start drawing our resources down. So try to conserve. If you have to water, and I know a lot of you do because you got landscape gardens and lawns, do it late evening, early morning, and don't do it every day. Do one good watering a week, and then let it sit. We'll talk more about the drought coming up in a minute, but we're going to be back coming up after the break.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock, crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock, stabilize, enhance, protect.
Welcome back, everybody. Tim Buckley joins me as always. Finally back together here after a couple weeks of Artemis, spring breaks. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of weather too. There's been a lot of interesting stuff going on. But Tim, welcome back. Good to see you again. We got a lot to talk about locally. Obviously, we've got this heat wave heading our way, which is, I think a lot of folks. There's always the warm weather fans out there on my social media that are like, I love this weather, and I'm like, yeah, I love it too when it's June, July, and August, not in April. Right? I feel like April is my favorite month because typically we get like room temperature days in the mid 70s. The mornings are still kind of crisp and cool. It's like, to me, it's one of the best weather months of the year in the Carolinas. And I feel like we get robbed when we get these early heat waves. And this is kind of ridiculous heat for us because I had to look back. I saw you post something on this. We haven't hit 90 in April in 16 years. This is kind of like weird.
It's very weird, and yeah, good to be back with you as well. It's strange. I would have thought that this had happened more recently, Brad, but for you, you're saying 16 years for 90. In Greensboro, it's actually been 20 years. So it's been quite a while that we've gotten that level of heat. And I'm with you. Typically, April is a fairly comfortable time of year. Days like today are perfectly fine, in my opinion. Upper 70s, close to 80. Yeah. That's fine. But I've got a buddy getting married on Saturday in Greensboro, and he was asking me, he's like, I'm looking at the app, and I know you guys are more accurate. Is it really going to be 91 degrees? I was like, man, it might be 93. I'm sorry to tell you, like it's going to be really hot. So it's just one of those things you can't really make heads or tails of it. But this is probably, Brad, going to be the most significant April heat wave in decades for the Carolinas.
Yeah, like you said, it's like it's one thing to have a 90-degree day in April for a day, but this is like a 4 or 5 day stretch where I think, at least here locally, and I saw your forecast, we're going to be threatening 90 every day from tomorrow through Saturday. And like you said, Friday, Saturday look to be the hottest. I actually am going 93 on Saturday locally. That would tie the record, and 94 is the record on Friday down here. We could be close. I mean, that would be hot by summer standards, let alone April standards, because I think our average high in the middle of July is like 91. So this would be above average by July standards down here. And the other thing we got to talk about this, Tim, is we're in this drought, which we've talked a lot about. I think people are getting tired of it. But when you throw this heat on top of the drought, this is where you probably are going to have some real issues with crops. This is adding not only drought stress, but now heat stress to the early season growing that a lot of farmers are going to be dealing with.
It's kind of a worst case scenario if you were to draw up what kind of weather would you not want to see over the next several weeks. It's this, right? Yeah. And for your comfort, we can talk about the dew points if we want to. Yeah. The dew points aren't going to be all that bad. They're going to be rather low, so it's not going to feel like June or July or anything like that. But unfortunately, when we talk about the drought, that lack of moisture is the whole problem. And so with this, you're not even going to be able to pop any little thunderstorms. At least it doesn't look that way. Maybe it'll change. Maybe we get a couple over the mountains as we get closer to the weekend. But I don't know, man. It doesn't look very good. Maybe the only opportunity for some rain would be Sunday, I suppose, as there's a little bit of a cold front that kind of puts an end to this current heat wave. And then we'll see if we get another one later on.
Yeah, it's funny. That front is like, it feels like we've had so many of these dry fronts, Tim, this year. It's like we get a front, we're like, oh, it's going to be rain. And as we get closer, it trends down. The fact that we're this far out and it already looks like barely any rain doesn't give me good hope because the trend has been as we get closer, these get drier and drier. It's already pretty dry. So, 20% is all I'm going for Sunday. And I'm like, that might be optimistic right now, the way things are looking.
I know.
But what's interesting about this pattern, Tim, is there's some connection, right? We've got this ridge over the southeast. You were showing the upper level pattern. And around the ridge, you've heard this term, and we use it sometimes on the air, the ring of fire, right? Around these big ridges, these heat domes, you get active storms. So where is the active weather? All on the northwest side of this ridge. You see the severe weather outlook today, tomorrow, and even on Wednesday. The middle of the country is getting all the active weather, Tim, and locally we're underneath the heat dome basically and not getting anything at all. And today it's been a really active day up in Minnesota, of all places. They've had mid to upper 80s up there today, and they've had severe weather. And so you're looking at some live views up there as our sister station CARE has been chasing storms. There's this line of supercells, Tim. I know you've been kind of keeping an eye online as well. Right there, this line of cells is forming on a warm front, and those are some big hailers they've seen up there. In fact, all of those look like supercells that could produce hail or tornadoes.
It just has the look.
Yeah.
When you look at this, you can really tell that there's a subtle warm front or maybe a strong warm front right there,
Yeah.
and they're all kind of just riding along it and kind of bubbling north. And there's that rotational signature to them. You don't need to be a meteorologist to kind of see this. If you can just kind of look at these, even on a low resolution view like I'm showing you here, notice how they're all kind of spinning a little bit, right? And they've got that little appendage on the left-hand side of each cell that we would call kind of a hook echo. Some of the one near Northfield, headed toward Lake City, had one of those. Mankato, you're seeing some of this as well. This is just kind of one of those things that if you're a meteorologist working in that area today, it's going to be a long day. There's not a definitive end to that. It's not like it's one line that moves easily and well behaved across the area. They just kind of keep redeveloping because there's that boundary there. And until the weather changes, you're going to keep on getting some of these. And this is a nice view you have, Brad, here on a more of a higher resolution view.
Yeah, and you're right. It's like if we're stuck in a rut with dry, hot weather, they're going to be stuck in a different kind of rut where there's going to be days of severe weather. In fact, our sister station, CARE, as we mentioned, they were out chasing this. And you got to check this out. I'm sorry, I don't remember the reporter's name, but she was out there chasing, and they got some, it looks like baseball-sized hail, just to give you a perspective on how big some of the hail has been in these supercells up in Minnesota today.
Yes, I'm here. It's been an incredible storm to watch here in person. I want to show you guys this, though, when you're talking about the hail, right? This is golf ball size hail that's coming down as we continue to move east of Northfield. We want to turn the camera around and just show you what we're trying to see. We've pulled over multiple times because visibility is nearly impossible with the rain, and it looks like snow on the ground because that's how much hail we've gotten, again, as we head just further east from Northfield. And this was a system that just built up so quickly and came down so fast. It was sunny and we saw the clouds building in the dark skies, and then next thing you knew, it was a hailstorm unlike anything I've been in. It was so loud, it was impossible to hear, and as the hail got bigger and bigger, you just feel like it's going to come right through the windshield. I mean, it looks like there's snow on the ground right now. As we're moving towards this system that you guys keep talking about has that potential for the tornado. So, what's that?
West of Denison.
Yeah, west of Denison, Bell, where you said. But I just want to show you guys again the size of this hail that we're talking about here.
So, Jen, can you hear me right now, Jen?
Incredible.
Yeah, so Tim, that first of all, that hail was big, but then you see the road covered in hail. The first thing I think about, that poor car. Oh my gosh, hail is like the worst thing, especially when you get in it. There's nowhere to go. I just cringe thinking of insurance policies when I see stuff like that.
Yeah, they're going to need a new hood on the news car. The windshield looked okay, which is nice. But that's tough, Brad. I mean, every now and then we see a couple big hailstones around the Carolinas. It's rare for us to get the ground coated, get the road coated quite like they have there. It's happened a few times in recent years in a couple storms that I remember, but not all that many. And I believe this must have been the storm that they were on. You could see, just even estimated from the products we have in our system here, 2-3 inches on a pretty wide swath too. It's not like it was a very small localized area. This is, a good chunk of those counties up there, just south of the Twin Cities, it looks like, by about 2 counties or so.
Yeah, that definitely verifies. What she was holding, she said golf ball. That looked a little bit bigger than golf ball. Golf ball is like 1.5 inches, 1 3/4. That looked like 2.5. So kind of verified with the numbers you were showing there with our product. Not quite baseball, but maybe just a little bit. Like if anyone ever played racquetball, kind of looked like a racquetball, or maybe a lacrosse ball.
You're trying to say it's a pickleball, right?
Pickleball, yeah, maybe pickleball. It was kind of that shape,
I'm watching. This is their live shot currently.
Lacrosse
I don't know exactly
ball.
where they are, guys, but you can kind of see they're coming up on another shelf cloud or something there in the distance.
Good day to be chasing up there. This time of day too, they got great visibility. Remember it's Central Time there, so it's 5:49 their local time. sun is up much later there. So this will be an interesting pattern to watch the next couple of days, Tim. I don't think this will be the last day that we talk about severe weather in the middle of the country. You're showing tomorrow into Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to be a repeated day of severe weather. Up near that warm front is always kind of the spot you watch for supercells, but then you get the dry line in the plains. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of activity come up. And it's not crazy. I know this is going to get a lot of national coverage, but this is April, Tim. We've had history here this time of year in April. Is usually when we get big severe weather outbreaks. We're lucky we're not getting that, though I'd love to see the rain. But in the middle of the country, this is kind of the beginning of tornado season, April, May, and into early June.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. As we're looking here, it looks like they might be going into an area that had hail on the ground. We're seeing a little bit of fog. Doesn't it look like it?
Yeah,
if you can get hail fog, right? So the hail cools the air down to the dew point a little bit, and you can see a little bit of that fogginess and maybe a little subtle accumulation on the left there collected in some of the dirt and some of the grass. Remnants, I guess, of the storm that rolled through. And this guy has a clipboard. Maybe he's already an insurance guy coming through to help them fix their cars and roofs. They're on the scene really quick when this happens.
Yeah, there's more of that hail fog.
Look at
you
that.
kind of see that, yeah. Yeah, especially on days like this where it's kind of warm and humid and you get all that ice on the ground, you do get this fog. And I've seen this happen where visibility and the roads get slick. It's kind of a bad combo when you're up there chasing. So this will be something we'll be monitoring closely. This is up in southern Minnesota, the Twin City area. Our sister station CARE up there is chasing this as well. Definitely going to be an active day. But Tim, speaking of severe weather locally, while we don't have a lot here, today's a pretty big anniversary. And I did see this earlier, James, when we had this, was there was a pretty strong tornado 6 years ago on this date in the upstate of South Carolina near Seneca, South Carolina. It was EF3, Tim, and it was a pretty big day. And it was in the middle of the night that this tornado hit. For us, we were kind of lucky. We were on the very edge of this, but this did produce a lot of tornadoes in the upstate of South Carolina, including one EF3 tornado that was on the ground for quite a period of time. So I think any day in April you could pick, Tim, of some anniversary of some severe weather outbreak, because April is, I just remember April like 2011, 2000. I mean, I can think of all these April outbreaks where I felt like every other day we were tracking severe weather here locally.
I remember this one because if you look at the year and you look at the month, this was the first time we had to track severe weather during the pandemic. So I remember having to get like special permission to come into the building because I wasn't allowed at that period of time. And it was an overnight event, like you said. We had a brief tornado that happened up here in Alamance County in the early morning hours, not as severe as in South Carolina. And then the next day and the next morning, it got really bad in eastern North and South Carolinas as well, with more tornadoes touching down.
Yeah, and it really, that's more of the norm than what we're seeing now. Typically in April, we're seeing active severe weather in the Carolinas. I think we're getting cold fronts, but that's what makes this drought feel so weird, Tim. It's like we can't even get pop-up thunderstorms in a time of year where normally we would be getting them. And I don't know about you, but I've been, a lot of people have been asking me, and I've been looking long range. I don't know. I don't really see a significant pattern change, at least in the next 10 days, that would say, hey, we're finally going to get some rain. This drought could be a real big issue, especially as we get closer to summer.
It could be a really bad one. Yeah, like you're saying, it looked for a while that we would get into a pattern with a regular rain chance here or there, and it just never really was able to stick around. So now we're getting into the point where the drought can kind of get stronger and kind of build on itself a little bit. And so all of last week we were showing this no rain in 7 days graphic, and now we're here 7 days later and we're still showing a no rain in 7 days graphic. It's not good. And like you said, it's not common. I did see our buddies at the Southeast Regional Climate Center. They must be big golf fans or something because they kept throwing Masters stats at us all week last week. It was the first time there was not a trace of rain at the Masters during the tournament since 2011. So that's about 15 years ago. That just goes to speak about this pattern. You usually get regular rain chances in April, just as you would expect, April showers.
Yeah, speaking of the Masters, something else I noticed, especially in Amen Corner. I watched a lot of Masters this weekend because I love it. It's my favorite tournament. But Amen Corner, none of the azaleas were blooming because I think they were already past bloom because it was such a warm spring. Now, they've been known in the past, Augusta National, to put ice and cool them down to slow down the blooming process. I don't think they did it this year because it was so warm, but I noticed that on some of the first images, because Amancore is still gorgeous, by the way, but there was no color. It was all greenery because the azaleas were already done.
And this has been something that's happened in recent. They could be in a little trouble here because azaleas are a big part of the aesthetic. It's a big part of the vibe at the Masters. You're getting into a point here where with climate change and with blooming dates shifting a little bit depending on the type of trees or shrubs you look at, azaleas are affected. Wilmington has an azalea festival. It's a big deal in southeast North Carolina. They've faced the same issue where, like the cherry blossoms in D.C., the festival dates might not align so well with the actual blooms anymore, and then you get into some trouble. So it's just a vibe, but it is symbolic.
No, all that warm weather in March, and I mean, for us today was, I think, day 16 of 80 plus for the year. That's the most on record through this date by 5 days. It's like obliterating records for the number of 80-degree days. So it's been a lot of warmth really early. So I was sad to miss the Artemis splashdown, Tim. But I did listen to it on the plane. I was actually flying back, and it was pretty cool to kind of listen to it. You found some pretty cool Apollo stuff at your station. So kind of explain what this is. Like, how did you stumble upon this, and where did you find this?
So I take no credit for this at all, but these are original documents. So this is like an Apollo 8 guide that was given to some of our news crews way back when. This is the late 1960s here, folks. So what's going on is we have someone who is retiring at the station coming up in a couple months. I can't say who just yet, but we were going through old documents and old boxes trying to find coverage or just pictures, and this is from July of 1969. So we didn't find pictures of the employee that we wanted to, but we found a lot of really cool documents. So our news crews went back there long ago. This is the press kit from the Apollo 11 landing mission, dated, July of 1969 or something. And you can just kind of thumb through this. I've only gone through a couple pages, but they're giving you all sorts of diagrams. This is all typed out, showing you what the aircraft would have looked like. And this is all super cool. So as we were just talking about it last week, they're giving you a play-by-play of what was happening way back when. Look at the landing sites that they were documenting for you to be able to talk about to folks at home here in North Carolina when they were down at Cape Canaveral way back when. And now we just did it all over again.